I lied about my affair being just a friend. Then he ran into my husband and everything exploded.
My affair ran into my husband and greeted him because I told him that's my brother. I'm screwed. Help me. I really need advice, please. Hi, Redditors. I'm Greta and I am in big trouble right now. This is going to take a while, so please just read till the end. I am 25 years old, living fine and happily married. Well, it was supposed to be that way, not until I screwed up. And hopefully this does not lead to my divorce and the end of my marriage life. My life has not always been so jolly or smooth. In fact, it was very much like I suffered growing up. Initially, though, I had the life any kid would dream of. A loving and caring parent, nice friends around, and getting everything that I wished for. My dad worked as a pilot, and he was always traveling around the world, while my mom was a model. They both didn't usually have the time to take care of me, and they left me with the maids. But they made up for it by taking a week off every month from their respective jobs, and that became a routine, until something tragic happened. On this particular day, I had given my dad a handmade bracelet as a lucky charm before he left for work, and kissed him goodbye on his cheek. Little did I know that it was the last time I would be seeing him that day. The plane he was piloting was reportedly faulty, and he was not informed beforehand. My dad and about 28 other people ended up dying while several people got injured. My mom and I were both devastated by the news, and my mom fainted out of shock. Later, we found out she was pregnant. Months passed, and we were still mourning his death. Eventually, we tried to move on. Due to her pregnancy, my mom could not model anymore as they rejected her because she added a few pounds. We could only stay at home without working. My mom gave birth to my junior brother, who's 15 years old now. Joy filled the air, and she cried tears of joy missing my father. So she named him Eric Jr. after my dad. After giving birth, my mom tried going back to her modeling career again, but they didn't take her back because they said she had added weight and she was not looking pretty any longer after Eric's birth. Mom felt defeated, but she pulled herself together and decided to focus on looking after my brother and I. We grew up quite quickly, going to school and living our life. Soon it was our birthday. Our birthday coincidentally fell on the same day. Eric and I had the best birthday of our life, my 18th and his 8th birthday then. But we didn't know that would be the last good birthday we would be having, because my mom broke the news that we were bankrupt and we would move away from that house to a much smaller one. We were both dumbfounded, but we had no choice than to do that. My mom had to work 2 jobs, as a cleaning lady and a waitress, just to afford sending me to college and my younger brother to a new school. I started college quite far away from home on scholarship studying cosmetology so that I can be a makeup artist. I also took up a part-time sales attendant job at a grocery shop, and that is where I met him, my present husband, Noah, looking all handsome and nice. He was a regular customer at the grocery shop, and finally, we started talking. I was reluctant at first, but I finally decided to share my personal information with him, including my phone number. It turned out that Noah was also in my college, but a year ahead of me and was majoring in architecture. He was kind, caring, understanding, smart, and also very handsome. I actually fell for him at first sight, but obviously I could not say anything to him because I was a coward. We started talking, and I don't know how much time had passed, but we began hanging out. He would always come to the store and wait until my shift ended just to hang out with me. We both enjoyed each other's company, and he was fun to be with. Honestly, I was always eager to finish my shift and go to him not only to hear his jokes, but to see his handsome face too. I was just so in love. I was falling behind with my rent and decided to take a midnight job at the bar as a stripper. Yes, I know it is a wrong thing to do, but the salary from my first job was not sufficient, so I had to work another job. I hid this fact from Noah as I was scared that he would judge me, and we just continued our friendship until my 20th birthday, where he gifted me a shiny silver necklace and asked me to be his girlfriend. He told me that he had always loved me from the very first time he saw me at the store, and he only came to buy things every day just so he could see me, even though some of what he bought was not needed, and he gave them out sometimes. I reluctantly accepted because of the work I was doing and the fact that I didn't want him to find out. By the way, Noah was from a very wealthy family. His father owns a shipping company, while his mother died immediately after he was born. We started dating, and I told him my life history, excluding the part where I worked as a stripper, and he also told me his. Things were going on fine, and we loved each other so much. He bought a lot of gifts for me and showered me with love, although it was exhausting trying to hang out with Noah and working as a stripper, but I still managed to hide that fact from him. Noah was always so serious about his studies and always put his best in it, and I also loved him for that. He had always told me that he wanted to do something else different from what his father was doing, and was determined to show his father that he could be successful without doing the passed-down family business. To be honest, his over-seriousness actually gave me the time to focus on my gig at the club. Soon, I was almost done with college, and I also planned on leaving behind my stripper job. Happy that all this while, Noah never suspected anything, which was good for me. I was able to take care of Mom and my younger brother now since I had Noah. I left the job behind and decided to focus on the future. I had already had quite enough for myself anyways. I took Noah to finally meet my mom and Eric, and he bonded quickly with them. I was at peace of mind that we would end up together forever as we had promised each other. He also took me to meet his dad, but his dad didn't like me. I had no idea why. One day, Noah proposed to me and I accepted without thinking twice, and we started the marriage preparations quickly. I chose my wedding dress and I decided to go for silver, unlike the usual white, and finalized the wedding date with our pastor. We chose a great location for our reception, and we also planned our honeymoon journey. I wanted us to travel around the world, but we agreed on going to Miami to spend it there. It was the day of our wedding, 6 months after his proposal. I woke up and danced happily as I took my bath, wore my beautiful silver wedding gown, and I adorned myself with the same silver necklace he had gifted me before. I also got my makeup done and went to meet my beloved at the altar. Noah was already waiting for me patiently, as he looked radiant in his silver suit with black taping around the neck. We proceeded with the wedding ceremony, said our I-do's, went to the reception for some dancing and fun games, and when we finished, we went to our new home, which was designed by Noah himself. Days later, we went for our honeymoon, and it was one of the best times of my life, just like my wedding. My husband literally did not even let me out of his sight for a second. We played around all day and slept with each other all night. I felt loved because our honeymoon lasted for a month and we were back home later. Our marriage was going smoothly. Noah started his own architectural business, and I settled on doing makeup for actresses and models, so my job was not too strenuous compared to Noah's. I only get to go for makeup like 3 times a week, and I come back early after work, so I am mostly at home, and naturally I yearn for a tender touch from my husband. He was always there for me, and he always played with me, cared for me, gave me kisses, but suddenly, we grew kind of distant, and he became so busy that he rarely pays any attention to me. I felt like a piece of furniture just laying around the house. He always prioritized his work over me, and he came home late. At first, I thought I did something wrong, but as it turned out, I did not, and his excuse was that he needed to build his career to the top, so he has to let go of any distraction for now, and when he makes it big, then he can have time for me, and we can even make babies. He told me that he was too busy to give me what I wanted, and when I complained, he said that I was acting like a baby. He didn't even sleep with me again like before. I was so angry, so I decided to go to my mom's place to unwind, and I told her everything that was happening between me and Noah. I cried as I narrated everything to her, and she told me that sometimes it was normal for things like this to happen in a marriage, and I am lucky that he still thought about me even though he does not have my time. She also told me that it was just a phase, it would pass soon. She calmed me down and said I should be patient with him, and he would come around soon. As time passed, I was so pissed that I also decided to spend a little bit more time at our studio, even if there was no work, and I also began to come late and give the same excuse as he did. Surprisingly, he did not protest and even encouraged me to continue like that. That was when I started having an affair with someone I met out of frustration. My husband decided that he would be spending the night at his office sometimes. He even forgot our anniversary, and when I eventually reminded him, he told me that he was sorry that he was so busy and he would make it up to me. Guess how he did that? He asked his assistant, Miles, to bring me some gifts and take me shopping the next day. When he came back home, he did not even say anything about that and went to bed immediately. I went to my mother the next day because I was so angry at this point, and I ended up transferring my aggression to my poor little brother, but I consoled him with the gifts I bought for him. I explained everything to my mother, who still gave me her usual lecture about patience and perseverance. I left her place later thinking about her words, but the feeling of abandonment in me overpowered the lectures I received from my mother earlier. Noah, too, was not helping the situation, and I began to feel even more lonely. So I just decided to start going to the bar to unwind and get over my feelings. The person I was referring to was Jack. I met Jack while I was drowning myself with alcohol one day at a bar. Noah had called me that day and told me that he would be spending the night at his office as he wanted to finish a design that he was working on. I went to a bar out of frustration and started drinking when Jack came to the counter and sat beside me, lecturing me on not taking too much alcohol and the effect it had on my body. He said it in such a funny way that I could not help but laugh. We started talking, and for a moment, I forgot all about my frustration and sadness. He asked for my number before he hastily left, and I gave him without having a second thought. With the excuse of working late hours, I started meeting Jack at night, and when he asked about my personal life, I told him that I was single and he was elated, and he looked like a happy child with a lollipop. I know I shouldn't have said that, and that was the first mistake I made. I saw that day as a chance because that morning I had taken off my ring due to the fact that I just didn't want to wear it anymore. It wasn't like Noah had time for me to even notice I didn't wear a ring. Anyways, Jack then told me that he was single too and that he was a doctor. His parents died as a kid, so he had to live with his uncle. And one of the reasons he actually became a doctor was to care for his ailing uncle who succumbed to his illness recently. Honestly, I was having the best moments of my life. Jack was fun to be with, and at first I thought because he was a doctor. I felt it was going to be harder to talk to him, but now I know that not all doctors are boring. He was a sweet and romantic person too. Anyways, I loved his personality, and I fell in love with him without realizing. The void Noah left in me by not fulfilling was filled by Jack. We started hanging out a lot of times, and before I knew it, I slept with him one day when I went to his place. He saw nothing wrong because I told him I was single, but I shouldn't have done that because I knew it was wrong. Eventually, we slept together any chance we got, and I began to drift away slowly from Noah. Although I had to pretend in the presence of both men, I was able to do just fine and enjoyed my life. My mom began to notice a change in my behavior, and I think she began to suspect me. She sat me down and asked if I was doing something wrong. I eventually told her what happened, and she was so disappointed at me for stooping so low in my actions and having an affair with another guy. She said that not only am I lying to both guys, but I am also harming myself in the process. She also told me that the aftermath was going to be extremely fatal. I smiled and told her that I would take care of everything myself, so I didn't listen to her and continued my affair with Jack. One day my secret was almost exposed, but I was able to cover it. I was at Jack's place, and he took some pictures of us with my phone. While he was checking it, he asked if he could check my other pictures, and I gave him the permission to. He then stumbled upon pictures of me and Noah. Luckily, it was not our wedding picture, but there were so many pictures of me and Noah together on my phone. I lied, saying that Noah was my brother, and took away the phone from him. He bought the lie, and I was saved, and our affair continued. And deep down in my mind, I was worried about how I would react if Jack decided to propose to me. I always thought about this while I continued with my double life as a wife and as a girlfriend. Meanwhile, Noah began to succeed and his career was blooming. He had quite a number of investors now, and he started to get better at home. He kisses me goodbye now before going to work. He bought me lots of gifts and started nurturing me, but all these did not stop me from meeting Jack though, because I wanted more than that. I continued to meet up with him, and my mom was so pissed off that for the first time she shouted at me and hit me, and even forbade me from meeting with Jack again. She also threatened to tell Noah about my illicit affairs. I reluctantly accepted after she said that, being the stubborn person that I am. I called Jack to meet with him immediately after my mom left. Now the real tragedy arrived. Noah came back home all moody, sad, and angry. In our years together, I have never seen him this angry. I asked what was wrong, but he did not give me any response and stormed off to the room. I tried seducing him at night while we were sleeping as I was in the mood to make love, but he turned me down. I didn't mind and only thought that he had started with his attitude of not caring. So I brushed it off and just went to sleep, but he displayed the same behavior when he woke up. And at this point, I started feeling weird. I could not meet with Jack as I was not feeling so well, so I decided to stay at home and rest. This continued for a while, and one day I snapped at him and asked why he had been treating me like an object. But he retorted back saying that I was a monster, and deep down, I knew what I had done. I felt uneasy, but I regained my composure and pretended like I knew nothing. This only pissed Noah up, and he only screamed out of frustration and left angrily. At this point, I was scared, so I decided to go to Jack and probably end things with him. But he was not in his home. Neither was he at the hospital either. I called him, but he did not pick up, and he also did not reply to all the messages I sent to him. Now, I was legit feeling so scared. I managed to stand firm until my husband came back from work and tried seducing him and sweet-talking him. But none of this worked. He rejected me, and finally he snapped and called me all sorts of names. He was so angry, and the first question he asked was if I knew who Dr. Jack was. I was so dumbfounded, but I pretended like I did not know who that was. He repeated the question again, and when I replied negatively, he lost it and pressured me into telling him the truth. When I resisted, he revealed something shocking. Apparently, they did some health checkup at work, so they were all supposed to go to the hospital. And on that very day, he was to meet with a new doctor, and that is where he met Jack. He said that after the checkup, Jack had addressed him as my own brother, telling him about how much he loved me, wanted to marry me, and even went as far as saying that Noah should talk to me on his behalf. I was puzzled at this revelation, and at this time my mom's words came rushing through my brain, and I realized that I was wrong, and my mom was right, but it was too late. Noah told me that he did not react at first, but when Jack said that they had been dating for almost 3 months and mentioned how they met at a bar, and I told him that I was single, he was so livid and showed him our wedding pictures, which shattered Jack. He said Jack apologized to him and told him he didn't know. I didn't know what to say. Noah left the house after telling me this, and I have not been able to contact him ever since. I tried calling and texting, but to no avail, and I was back to being lonely. Now, I understand my mother's words, but it is too late. If only I could turn back the hands of time, then I would have been patient and waited for him to come around like my mother said. Please, I need advice because I don't know what to do. * comments *, Reddit user. 1 *. Greta, just talk to him and fix what is broken. You should have done that initially, but now that things have gotten to this point, you just have to be apologetic and talk to him sincerely. * Reddit user. 2 *. You just spoiled your marriage, silly woman. You had it coming, though. You should have just been patient. Now, see what you have caused. Deal with it yourself. * Reddit user 3. * You should have listened to your mother when she was advising you. It is your life, so get hold of it. * Reddit user 4. Honestly speaking, you do not deserve to stay in his house any longer. First you cheated, then you lied, and you didn't even listen to your mother when she advised you. If I was Noah, I would divorce you without giving it a second thought. Update. Since my husband left the house without saying anything, I tried reaching him, but it was to no avail. I went to his office, but I met Miles instead, and he told me Noah was not around, even though his car was parked outside and I could clearly hear his voice. I left there feeling dejected, and went to his father's house thinking that I could maybe get his father to talk to him. But since his father hated me from the beginning, I was not even given the chance to say a word. His dad lashed out at me and asked that I leave his house before he had me arrested. I left there reluctantly for my mother's house, where I received the harshest words one could ever say to a person. She said that now I understood her words, and now I can see the consequences of my actions. She also told me that I am to take responsibility for my actions and not to meet with her until I fix what I had broken. I went back home and cried myself to sleep, regretting the decisions I made. I deleted Jack's number and everything that reminded me of him. When I wanted to block him from Instagram, I saw that he had moved in with his female best friend and is getting married soon. This revelation even made me even more hurt. I also received a call from my workplace that I was fired because they heard about what happened between me and my husband, and it was going to tarnish the image of their company. I felt so hurt and devastated even more. I thought it wouldn't get any worse until Noah came in with his friend, who was also his lawyer, and told me he was going to divorce me. He said he had signed the divorce papers and it was my turn. I didn't answer, and I screamed at me because it was his fault for abandoning me and not paying any attention to me. He prioritized his work over me, and that was what made me cheat. He ignored everything I said, but he said that I had to sign the divorce papers, and I was not getting any penny from him because I cheated, and there was evidence that he would submit to the court during our trial. He left the divorce paper and left me there crying, while he stormed out with his friend and I was screaming for him to come back and it was his fault. Now, I am divorced, pregnant with Jack's child and unemployed, living alone with my mom and brother, who welcomed me even with my mistakes. I tried to reach out to Jack about his baby, but he never replied. I don't know what the future holds for me, but as of now I am suffering, and I would not recommend that anyone make the same mistakes that I make, no matter what. You have to be patient and find a way to communicate with your partner, because communication is key. I learned this the hard way. My husband somehow found out about my affair on my solo trip and blocked all my cards. I am screwed. I wish I didn't do it. You know, I wish I could turn back the hands of time, and I would have not gone on a solo trip. My husband had organized it for me, so I would go and relax since I was working hard. But instead of appreciating that, what did I do? I committed adultery that led me to be the most broken person on earth. As much as I still want to fix everything and undo everything, it's a pity that time waits for no man, and what's done is done. Even though it was the only important chapter in my life. I had lost a dime while chasing for stones. I know what I did is unforgivable, and it was very selfish of me, but I got tempted. And during that temptation, I found myself falling for it. Not aware that it would somehow come back and bite me when I was least expecting. I went on a solo trip, hoping for some much-needed time alone, but little did I know that it would turn into a nightmare. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where everything seems to be falling apart? Well, let me tell you about my recent experience. My name is Emily Robinson, female 26, and my husband is Arthur Brown, male 29. My husband and I met at Cardiff. I went to visit my Nana, my mother's mom. Arthur lived there with his parents. Well, his parents and my Nana were somehow friends, or must I say they were family friends. One day, my Nana had invited them to have dinner with us. That time, Arthur had recently come back from the university. The dinner went well. My Nana had introduced me to Arthur, and we got along pretty well. Since I was visiting in Cardiff, and Arthur was also visiting, we decided to exchange numbers so we would be in contact so that we would be able to get to know each other. Arthur is a humble, respectful, and enthusiastic man. He was so gentle. Even the way he was speaking, his voice was soft, but carried a lot of authority. We became friends since then. We would check up on each other every time when we got a chance. He was my pillar and strength. He was the best friend I had ever had. He showed the most genuine love and care. He had that gentle, tender love, and he knew how to treat a woman. He valued communication, loyalty, and respect a lot. Our friendship was just everything and more. He was what most girls want and pray for. We were friends up until he finished studying in university and graduated. I was so proud of him when he was called to the podium to collect his qualification in science. Being a business scientist was always his dream. I was glad that he was actually a few steps away from achieving his goals. That time, he had been offered an internship in a data science company. It wasn't a lot, but it was a start, and I was so happy for him. On his graduation celebration dinner, his mother had hosted a dinner to celebrate his graduation and the new internship opportunity. His parents were so proud they wouldn't have to say anything to see that they were truly proud of their son. So that night, Arthur asked to take me out the following day before he went to work. I agreed to go out with him. I was already feeling the guy, but I was too afraid to confess my feelings for him because I was scared of getting rejected. The following day, he confessed his feelings for me. I was not expecting it, nor was I ready for it. I had thought that maybe he only took me as a friend, not someone he would actually share his love with. On another hand, I was happy at the fact that he had confessed his feelings for me. I also got a chance to confess mine, knowing that I was safe from being rejected. He wouldn't reject me when he had also confessed his undying love for me, right? I also told him how I felt about it. Since then, we officialized our relationship. We actually promoted our relationship from being friends to being lovers. I was ecstatic. We dated for a year and a half, then he proposed. His parents, along with my Nana, were so happy at the fact that we had actually met their hopes. I was surprised when my Nana told me that she had been praying that I date Arthur because he was a good, humble, and respectful young man with a good sense of humor. I just couldn't believe my Nana, but I was glad and felt blessed at the fact that she had wished and prayed for nothing but the best for me. I remember when Arthur's mom was so over the moon and busy gushing about the wedding. She actually wanted us to make her the wedding planner. It was somehow really funny to see her wanting to be hands-on like that, but Arthur didn't want her to be. So we had hired a wedding planner to take care of everything that we would need. I was focusing on having the best dress and best suit for Arthur. That's how happy I was with my wedding, and I couldn't wait for it to happen. 2 months later, we got married, and it was the happiest day of our lives. I was glad that Arthur didn't change when we got married or when we started dating. I mean, most people tend to change when they get what they want. But Arthur kept treating me like his friend and a lover. His love for me, or our love for each other, was not hidden. It was just visible to everyone to see that we were so much in love. We actually became like siblings because of the way we were free and sometimes crazy towards each other. Sure, we had our fair share of ups and downs, arguments just like any other couples, but we maintained the communication. We made sure to not go to bed while angry at one another. Another thing, we would just kiss and make up when we had been having an altercation or argument. Our intimate moments were always on a high level. I don't know if I was saying that because I loved and I still love Arthur, which is funny because I love a person who screwed me over in a most painful and unforgivable way. I think I loved our intimate moments because he was the one who broke my virginity. He was my first true lover and my first true friend. All along, I had been having or finding fake friends and playing boys who only wanted me to sleep with them so that they could discard me like an old used cloth or tea bag. I had my doubts about Arthur when we first started dating, but the time that we had spent in getting to know each other while we were friends really helped because I got into a relationship with him, knowing what I was outing myself into. It was nothing but bliss. Time passed, I started getting bored. I mean, I am a writer, so I was always in the house because I was not working for any company but myself. Arthur was always at work and he would come back later when he had knocked off. He didn't change, you know. He was the same husband that I had fallen in love with, and my love for him kept growing each and every time when I looked at him. I loved the fact that he was very much supportive and always there for me when I needed him. I don't know what really came over me when I destroyed the only good thing I had going. So when time passed, I recently went on a solo trip, just some time to myself to relax and unwind. My husband had actually organized that trip for me to relax. He told me that I was working too much and had put too much energy and dedication to the book that I was writing, so I needed some time off. I was happy at the fact that he had actually thought of my well-being, because I tried telling him that I wanted to first finish the book, then I would go on a trip, but he refused. Then he told me that the book won't have anyone to finish it when I get sick and get admitted to the hospital. Sometimes I hate how he was always right about things. I was working a lot to a point that I didn't even get time for myself. But I can't complain because writing is what I love and what I am good at. It's the only thing that makes me think about only good things. It was actually like my meditation process. So I took his offer and went on a solo trip to South Africa. I fell in love with that country the first time I had visited with my Nana and my parents when they were still alive. I promised myself that once I start affording, I would go back to visit it again. The weather is so good and warm, it is a very relaxing country, despite the news that we would hear about it. South Africa is a very precious and welcoming country. I love everything about it, and I decided that during my solo trip, I would travel and explore South Africa. During my trip, I went to a province called Zulu-Natal or something like that. I'm the person who loves African cultures, and I must say that the Zulu culture really took my heart, from the activities that they do, food they eat, and their cultural sites, the way they dance. It's just so amazing. I really enjoyed my trip to South Africa, and I'm going to go back to visit again. I want to explore more about South African cultures, and maybe I will find myself learning a few African languages. While I was still enjoying the warm weather in Durban in South Africa, even going to the beach was enjoyable. So I went to this corner that sells Zulu traditional food around where I was renting. I bumped into a very handsome, well-built, and humble guy when I had just placed my order. The guy asked if he could join my table since the restaurant was full and I was sitting alone. I gave the guy a go-ahead, and he joined me. We waited for our food over some light conversation. During my trip, I made a terrible mistake. I had an affair. I thought I could keep it a secret, but I guess nothing stays under the carpet for too long. I had picked up that he was also not from South Africa, but he was from Europe. We talked a lot and even shared our South African numbers since we had found out that we were renting in the same place in La Lucia. The guy introduced himself as William Smith, male, 32. He was good company and funny. He told me that he loved visiting African countries. We shared a lot, and I would say that I enjoyed my stay in South Africa. I had actually found something interesting to write about in my book. William talked up until our orders were called since we were not eating in. I wanted to enjoy my African traditional meal indoors, which was why I had ordered it as a takeaway. William asked to give me a lift from the traditional food corner to my apartment that I was renting. I couldn't decline his offer, you know. There was just something attractive with him, and I still don't know what actually drove me to William. Maybe it was his charms or something. I don't know. I was so taken by him. For some time, I had forgotten about my husband that I had left back at home. William became my foreign friend that I had never had. We traveled together around the province. I really enjoyed his company. So one day, William asked that we visit the newly opened bar near where we were staying. I couldn't say no, so we went, we drank, danced, and had so much fun. When it was time to go back to my apartment, I don't know what happened, but William and I kissed, and it felt so right. To my surprise, I didn't even feel guilty when I woke up in William's apartment. I knew that I was doing something that jeopardized my relationship with Arthur, but I felt like I needed to explore other intimate moments so that I would know how it felt like to be intimate with another person. I mean, in intimate moments, I had only shared them with Arthur only. I didn't know how it felt like to explore other intimate styles and positions, and William made me experience all that. I knew that if my husband was to find out, I would lose a lot and hell would break loose. I was doing what was against my marriage law and my vows that I had made in front of the Lord, my family, and friends. I was jeopardizing my marriage and my relationship with Arthur. I love my husband, or must I say my ex-husband, so much. But I also needed to feel myself for once. I wanted to explore other things and explore a new venture of intimacy. William's drive was really on another level. I felt like it was my first time having such a great intimate moment. Sure, my husband was explorative and did me so great, but William's exploration was top-notch. I enjoyed every moment with him, from how he was exploring my body, the way he was touching me, kissing me with his soft and tender lips. I knew there and then that I had caught some feelings for the guy. Our secret affair went on since I had extended my stay in South Africa so that I would have enough time with William. I think I had fallen for the guy, or am I wrong? I felt like the guy knew me and what my body needed without even asking for it. His intimate drive drove me sane into a point that it somehow felt like I had been brainwashed because I couldn't even think about the marriage that I was putting at risk. I was jeopardizing my marriage, knowing very well that if Arthur was to find out, I would be husbandless and maybe divorced. Little did I know that my husband had actually planned something drastic for me. I was busy enjoying my moments with William. Little did I know my husband somehow found out about my affair and things took a turn for the worst. I was enjoying my time away, exploring new places, plus it was my last day in South Africa. I knew that I had to go back home when suddenly I got a notification on my phone. It's a text from my husband, and let's just say, it wasn't a happy one. He had somehow discovered my secret and was absolutely furious. I knew Arthur when he was angry, and I knew when he was enraged. And in the text that he had sent me, he was really enraged. He wrote that he had sent me to the trip because he wanted me to relax and have some good time and take a break from writing. But that was the thanks he gets by going outside our marriage and committing adultery. He then said a lot of hurtful words that made me feel so much guilt in my heart. My mind had come back to functioning well. Mind you that teen William had gone back to Europe. Not to sound selfish or whatever, but I missed William so much. Well, more like I missed his S****. I know it was really wrong of me, but I just couldn't help it. That William was giving me more than what I was getting from my own husband. He knew how to explore certain parts of the body. His touches were magical, and I would always melt on his touch. It was like he had gone to school for his experience and skills in intimacy. You know when someone had passed with straight A's at school for some subject that they loved? That was William. It was like he had some sort of an intimacy qualification. Was I falling hard for the guy? But I don't think so. I missed William to a point that I actually found myself trying to call him, but it went straight to voicemail. I had even forgotten that I only had his South African number and not his actual number. I was frustrated because I needed him, at least to talk to him just to hear his voice. I decided to check him on social media, but I didn't find anything since he didn't even share his forename. I didn't know what to do because I really needed the guy. I ended up helping myself while saying William's name. I thought I could keep it a secret. but somehow my husband found out. And let me tell you, he was not happy. But wait, it gets worse. As if finding out about my affair wasn't bad enough, my husband decided to take things to the next level. He blocked all my cards, leaving me completely stranded without any access to money. Talk about being screwed. I couldn't believe it. Here I am in a foreign place with no way to pay for anything. It was like a nightmare come true. I had no idea how I was going to survive the rest of my trip. As if the emotional turmoil wasn't enough, my husband decided to take things a step further. He blocked all my cards. Yes, you heard that right. He cut off my access to any financial resources. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would my husband do something like that? Well, let's just say he wanted to make sure I felt the consequences of my actions. And boy, did he succeed. I couldn't believe him. I had thought he would at least wait for me to get home before doing such a drastic act. So there I was, stuck in a foreign country, with no money and no way to get home. It's safe to say that this was definitely not how I envisioned my solo trip turning out. Yes, I had wronged Arthur in a most possible way, but wouldn't he at least try and wait for me to get home before doing that? Till today, I am still trying to figure out how Arthur found out about my affair with William. Even though today I regret everything. I even regret going to South Africa and regretting that I didn't accept my husband's offer to have a trip, because now it had destroyed everything that me and Arthur had been through. You know, I tried booking the plane ticket using my cards, but they were all declining. It was so embarrassing and humiliating to hear a person telling you that your card was declining. Mind you, that time I didn't even have any friends nor siblings, but I missed him so much. Now I am completely screwed. I have no money to pay for my accommodation, food, or even transportation back home. I feel trapped and helpless. William and I couldn't get a chance to get to know each other on a deeper level. It was like the only thing that had connected us was intimacy, and it was really dumb and stupid of me to not try and find out more about the guy. I just couldn't believe Arthur. I mean, how he could do something like that to the person he claimed to love. I was so heartbroken to a point that I took the last money that I had and went to find a cheaper place to crash until I had found the way to get back home. It was a wake-up call for me. I never thought that my actions would have such severe consequences. I took my husband's trust for granted, and now I am paying the price. I tried calling him, but his phone was ringing unanswered. I needed answers on why he did what he did to me and how he found out about what I was doing in South Africa. I was so angry at him to a point that I even felt like I would slap him across his face if he was closer. I know what I did, and I am not justifying what I did, but what my husband or ex-husband did was too extreme and kind of low even for himself. He should have waited for me to come back right. As if that wasn't enough, the money that I had was about to run out. I called my Nana to help me, but I had run out of airtime. Mind you, I wanted to call the landline number at my Nana's house since she would sometimes not hear the phone ringing. My hopes were gone. I was about to be stranded and homeless in a foreign country because my husband had decided to just block all my bank accounts, including the one that I had been saving on. 2 days later, I received a call from Arthur telling me that he needed me home to finish the book that I was writing. He told me that he had booked me for the flight that would take me from Durban to Cape Town. My mind wanted to explode when I thought about the fact that I was screwed by my own husband. I thought he loved me, but all along he was pretending to love me. I used the last money that I had to book a flight to Cape Town, where I would actually take another plane to Los Angeles, California. I had enjoyed my trip to another country, but the very same trip had made me lose the only person who had shown me nothing but true love, respect, and loyalty. We had agreed and pledged to follow those rules even if we were apart from each other. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. Let this be a lesson to all of you out there. Honesty is always the best policy. Trust me, you don't want to find yourself in a situation like mine. I am sharing my story with you today to remind you that every action has consequences. It's important to think before we act, especially when it comes to our relationships. Loyalty and respect for your marriage or relation is the root of a successful partnership. Arthur didn't file for any divorce, and we had decided to attend some therapy sessions and to learn more about trust, honesty, loyalty, communication, and respect in relationships. Even though the damage was great, we decided to be civil with each other and we would stay in different places. I still have hope that my husband and I would maybe someday fix things and go back to where we were. Our separation was really taking a toll on me, and it was really depressing. Please give me ways to get my husband back. I need him, and I miss him.